Well, good evening, Brian. The campaign, the Obama campaign, certainly knew it snagged a big one today. You could see it on the staff's face. You could certainly see it on his face. And they hope that a nod from the Kennedy camp could put a whole new trajectory on this campaign as they head into Super Tuesday. Of all the memorable images of this campaign, Barack Obama has never had a moment quite like this. 2 generations of Kennedys, the standard bearers of the best-known political name in Washington, standing behind one young senator from Illinois.
I feel change in the air. What about you?
With 4 decades in the Senate, Ted Kennedy may lend credibility to Obama, whom Hillary Clinton has labeled as too inexperienced to be president. He may help with traditional Democratic Union and Hispanic votes, too. But more than that, the endorsement brought the Kennedy mystique to this campaign. Not in a whisper, but a roar.
I'm proud to stand with them here today and offer my help, offer my voice, offer my energy, my commitment to make Barack Obama the next president of the United States.
Caroline Kennedy, daughter of the late president, said it was actually her 3 children who suggested that Obama mirrored her own father's legacy.
Fortunately, there is one candidate who offers that same sense of hope and inspiration.
The endorsements were an embarrassment for Hillary Clinton, who, along with her husband, had hoped Senator Kennedy would remain neutral at the very least. For Obama, the endorsement left him almost giddy at times on stage, but also respectful of the Kennedy tradition.
Because no matter where I go or who I talk to, one thing I can say for certain is that the dream has never died.
Afterwards, when we caught up with him, he said it was all a bit humbling.
I had to kind of pull things together a little bit. There was emotions there.
All of this leads us to our bureau chief here in Washington, Tim Russert. And Tim, considering how many American households still hang a portrait of JFK, what's the Kennedy name worth in endorsement terms?
It's enormous, and both campaigns will acknowledge that today, Brian. When you have the daughter and the brother of the 35th president say the torch has been passed to a new generation in the name of Barack Obama, that's extremely powerful symbolism for blue-collar Democrats, Latino Democrats, white Democrats, male, female, it doesn't matter. Secondly, Brian, the tone, the rhetoric that Ted Kennedy used today. Obama was against the war from the beginning, who says differently. It's time to turn the page on the politics of distortion. So far, it has been 2 against 1, Bill and Hillary Clinton against Barack Obama. What Obama demonstrated today is he now has another heavyweight in his corner, a new cornerman in this tag team. He has Ted Kennedy, who can go anywhere in this country and take on Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, or promote Barack Obama. It really does give a new meaning to a #1 surrogate.
Among some on the other side of the aisle, but among the liberal Democratic base, he's an icon. This gives Barack Obama some political muscle there.
It does, because Ted Kennedy, as Lee mentioned, is the most experienced legislator in the country. And by saying that this new Senator, Barack Obama, is ready from day one, he's giving him a code of experience that he didn't have before this.
Today, Barack Obama won the support of a Democratic dynasty. Here's Jeff Greenfield.
It was a moment packed with political significance. Ted and Caroline Kennedy, the surviving brother and child of a revered Democratic president, declaring that the torch has been passed.
Fortunately, there is one candidate who offers that same sense of hope and inspiration.
I know what America can achieve. I've seen it. I've lived it. And with Barack Obama, we can do it again.
And while he had kind words for Hillary Clinton, Ted Kennedy took dead aim at one of her core arguments.
I know that he's ready to be president on day 1.
We've gone through almost a half century of Democrats looking for the next Kennedy. And for Barack Obama to lay claim to that mantle is a pretty big event.
There was a bombshell of sorts out on the campaign trail today. Let's go to Suzanne Malveaux. She's watching this story for us. You're covering Barack Obama, and he got a huge endorsement today from not only 1, but 2, yes, even 3 Kennedys. What happened?
Wolf, you really cannot overstate the power of this picture. Really, whatever happens with Barack Obama, whether he loses or wins, this is really a seminal moment for his campaign. You see the person who is called the Lion of the Senate, this Democratic icon, passing the torch to Barack Obama, obviously elevating the stakes here and certainly energizing his support.
We know the true record of Barack Obama. There is the courage when so many others were silent or simply went along. From the beginning, he opposed the war in Iraq. And let no one deny that truth.
Wolf, what you're hearing is really a thinly veiled swipe at both of the Clintons who made an issue of this the last couple of weeks, saying they believe Barack Obama had been inconsistent with his position on the Iraq War. Ted Kennedy, as well as other Democrats, some leaders in the party, quietly and some even publicly suggesting that the former first couple stepped over the line, crossed the line the last couple of weeks with some rather ugly politicking, and that is what you also heard earlier today, Wolf.
Suzanne, after that rally over at American University, where you are in Washington, you had a chance to sit down with Barack Obama and speak about this Kennedy endorsement. What did he say?
Well, he said this was really something that had been in the works, a process of trying to earn his endorsement for about a year or so that the two had talked. He had fought very hard for this, and he said it really wasn't until after his Iowa victory that Senator Kennedy felt that there was a real shot at this possibly happening for Barack Obama. It was after that moment he really sensed that there was a sea of change and that perhaps he could move forward and that he was going to go ahead and endorse him. Wolf.
I think that Senator Kennedy felt that I was tapping into a spirit in this country of thinking big, dreaming big, trying to bring the American people together, trying to get young people re-engaged in the process of remaking this country.
And the hope is, Wolf, is that Kennedy's endorsement will give him the kind of gravitas that he needs with the Democratic establishment. That certainly is the hope. Also, Kennedy has a very strong relationship with the Latino community. That is something that Barack Obama likely to lean on going into Super Tuesday.
The 2008 race for president, Gwen Ifill begins with a report on today's developments.
I feel change in the air. What about you?
At American University in Washington, where his brother Jack delivered his famous 1963 Strategy for Peace speech, Senator Ted Kennedy today offered Barack Obama his full political embrace.
There was another time when another young candidate was running for president and challenging America to cross a new frontier. He faced public criticism from the preceding Democratic president, who was widely respected in the party. Harry Truman said, "We needed someone with greater experience," and added, "May I urge you to be patient." And John Kennedy replied, "The world is changing. The old ways will not do. It's time for a new generation of leadership." So it is with Barack Obama. He has lit a spark of hope amid the fierce urgency of now.
3 Kennedys joined Obama on the stage today: the Massachusetts Senator, Rhode Island Congressman Patrick, and the late president's daughter Caroline, who used a Sunday New York Times opinion piece to announce her support.
Over the years, I've been deeply moved by the people who've told me that they wish they could feel inspired and hopeful about America the way they did when my father was president. This longing is even more profound today. Fortunately, there is one candidate who offers that same sense of hope and inspiration. endorse Senator Barack Obama for President of the United States.
Hillary Clinton, Kennedy's Senate friend and colleague, also sought the prized endorsement, but Kennedy was critical of President Clinton's role in the South Carolina campaign and refused pleas to remain neutral. Today, Obama was happy to accept the comparisons to John F. and Robert Kennedy.
I was too young to remember John Kennedy, and I was just a child when Robert Kennedy ran for president. But in the stories I heard growing up, I saw how my grandparents and mother spoke about them and about that period of our nation's life as a time of great hope and achievement. They inspired my family as they inspired families all across the country. And I think my own sense of what is possible in this country, part of the reason I stand here today, comes in part from what they said America was like in the days of John and Robert Kennedy. So make no mistake, the choice in this election is not between regions or religions or genders. It is not about rich versus poor, young versus old, and it is certainly not about black versus white. It is about the past versus the future. It is about looking backwards or marching forwards. It's about whether we are going to seize this moment to write the next great American story. So someday we can tell our children that this was the time when we healed our nation. This was the time when we repaired our world. And this was the time when we renewed the America. That this was the time when we renewed the America that has led generations of weary travelers from all over the world to find opportunity and liberty and hope on our doorstep.
And Kennedy pointedly suggested Democrats turn the page.
With Barack Obama, we will close the book on the old politics of race against race, gender against gender, ethnic group against ethnic group, and straight against gay. I love this country. I believe in the bright light of hope and possibility. I always have, even in the darkest hours. I know what America can achieve. I've seen it. I've lived it. And with Barack Obama, we can do it again. And I know that he's ready to be president on day one.
And to the analysis of Brooks and Marcus, New York Times columnist David Brooks and Washington Post columnist Ruth Marcus. Mark Shields is away this evening. David, the Kennedy endorsement. We gave it a lot of time tonight. Every other broadcast has given it a lot of time. The wires have made see this as a major event. Is it a major event?
I think so. It's by far the most important endorsement of the year, or of the campaign. And it's that for a couple of reasons. The first is the just last clip we heard from Ted Kennedy. Here's the consummate insight of the legislator saying Barack Obama is ready on day one. If anybody knows the inside of government, it's Ted Kennedy for Democrats. And so that carries a lot of weight. And then the second thing is when in that room, when Carolyn Kennedy walks up, her slenderness sort of evoking her father, and then when Ted Kennedy walks up, evoking his brothers, you see the whole history of the Democratic Party sort of swinging behind Obama. And he can clue into the 60s idealism, and tie it to himself. And it just has it had a big emotional wallop there in the room.
Mm-hmm. You were in the room, right?
I was there, and you don't expect to see that. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect Ted Kennedy to endorse. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who he was for, but I didn't think he'd endorse. The fact that he swung behind Obama, and a lot of top Democrats are now swinging behind him, is a sign of something shifting, at least at the elite of the Democratic Party.
Something shifting, Ruth?
I think something may be shifting, and just to amplify on what David was saying, I agree that this is a big deal. He is the biggest dog in the Democratic Party who's not already aligned with a certain candidate, but also the timing is magnificent for Barack Obama. We're on the verge of a bunch of important states, 22 important states. A lot of
Super
people,
Tuesday,
Super Tuesday
February
coming
5th.
up.
Yep.
A lot of people haven't made up their mind. A lot of people who thought they had made up their mind may be recalculating and rethinking. And also, I think that the double Kennedys, or however many Kennedys there were, really play very well to a particular demographic group that Barack Obama has been weakest with. Working class men, white men, union workers, and also for women of a certain age, and I'm going to put myself in that category, Caroline Kennedy's endorsement really does mean something. We remember her in the White House, and Hillary Clinton has been particularly strong among older women, and I think that also has a kind of emotional punch.
We've been talking on this program the last couple of weeks about how important are endorsements. You think this one is different than most endorsements, right?
I think this one is different than most endorsements, with the possible exception, I've never really been clear on how important it was, of Oprah. But certainly in the endorsement wars, everybody wanted this one. Every candidate wanted this one. And it is a little bit of a leading indicator. Senator Clinton brought out her dueling Kennedys today, but I have to say, and no diss on Kathleen Kennedy Townsend or anybody else, but she's no Teddy Kennedy, and his Kennedys outranked her Kennedys.
After their appearance with Senator Obama, I sat down with Senator Kennedy and Caroline Kennedy for an exclusive interview. And I asked the senator about the timing behind his decision. Senator, when did you decide to endorse Obama, and why now?
I think it was sometime after Iowa that I gave the greatest focus and attention to whether, at that time, Barack Obama had the kind of wherewithal to carry through with that kind of inspiration. I watched him, I listened to him, and it became kind of apparent to me that that all of the candidates were very, very close or similar, but Barack Obama had the unique abilities to be able to galvanize the young, to speak to hope, and to try and bring north, south, east, west, young and old alike, together, not only to win an election, but to govern.
In parsing your words, it seemed at times that you were speaking directly to the Clintons and directly to former President Bill Clinton.
I think candidates in a political campaign feel very strongly about the issues. They feel very strongly about their members of their family. I know that.
But you know other politicians and the press and everybody does look at words very carefully and is wondering what the meaning is. And when you say he opposed the war on Iraq, let no one deny that truth. Isn't that aimed at Bill Clinton, who called his position on his contentions on Iraq?
There may be people that wonder about what Barack Obama's position is. And this, I remember being on the floor of the United States Senate. That was a lonely position. A week before we voted on that, there were 8 members of the United States Senate in opposition. Barack Obama had spoken. That was a lonely position.
I'm curious about what won you over.
I think that over time, in listening to him and seeing the impact that he was having, particularly on my children, because that's what I saw close up and firsthand, I really began to realize that this was something special and different.
You cited the kids. You said they were the first people to make me realize his potential.
My eldest daughter will vote for the first time, and out on my book tour recently, so many people came up to me and told me that they cast their first vote for my father, and they started to describe to me what that felt like. And it just sounded so much like what I'm hearing from my own children that I thought, well, this is really something special, and we have a chance to change history here.